Professor of art and explorer Lord Conway described Leeds Castle in 1913 as the loveliest castle in the world. That may be a point of debate, but it's definitely one of the outstanding castles of the UK. Nowhere near the city of Leeds as you might expect, the castle is almost 240 miles further south of Leeds City. The castle in fact lies east of the village of Leeds, in the Garden County of Kent. 2 hours by train from central London or 1.5 hours by car. The castle sits on islands in a lake formed by the River Len. Listed in the Domesday Book, the castle was built in 1119, but the site dates back to 857 when it was constructed by a Saxon chief. After the Norman conquest, Robert de Crevecoeur rebuilt it as a Norman stronghold. It stayed in his family until 1278, when Eleanor Castile Queen to Edward I bought it and it became a royal palace. The site comprises of several buildings. 1. The castle or gloriette, a medieval term for a summer house, is on the original site of a keep, where the ladies could admire the prowess of their husbands on the hunt for game. 2. The new castle sits on the piece of land known as the Bailey, where the supporting domestic buildings were located and originally linked to the gloriette by a drawbridge. Wykeham Martin rebuilt the new castle in its current form in 1823. The Maiden's Tower is now a 5-star bed and breakfast hotel but was originally constructed in the 14th century and used by the ladies-in-waiting in the employ of Henry VIII. 4. The Gatehouse once housed the kitchen and a pantry and other functional rooms, but now hosts the exhibition rooms. The Barbican and original mill were built around the 1100s for milling corn. The surviving mill building dates from the early 13th century and fell out of use in the middle 17th century. The 5-meter-high stone revetment walls were added in the 13th century and strengthened by D-shaped turrets, the one to the southeast surviving complete until today. The extensive grounds to Leeds Castle will not leave you disappointed. There is something to keep everyone entertained. The Princess Alexander Garden that winds down from the public entrance only serves to heighten anticipation for the delights to come and provides wonderful glimpses of the castle. The gardens are undergoing a transformation, with an exciting project to create 6 areas including an oriental garden and a jungle garden. It's a picturesque half-mile walk through the gardens to the castle through a quiet woodland area, with a trickling stream and that delightful earthy smell of the forest. There is a land train that you may want to make sure is running for those that have difficulty with walking. The grounds have plenty of open space to enjoy, like the pavilion lawn. Here you can savor the views of the castle over the ridge and allow the children to run off some energy. The area is also surrounded by beautifully planted beds. In the spring, the Princess Alexander Garden is carpeted with daffodils, narcissi, and anemones, and later in the year rhododendrons and azaleas. Later on, as you journey around the grounds, there are the Lady Bailey Mediterranean Garden terraces designed by the landscape architect Christopher Carter. Facing south, they afford stunning views over the Great Water, and you can find wall-trained roses and clusters of grapes dangling temptingly from the pergola that provides shade and repose. There are no shortage of activities to keep families and children of all ages entertained. There is adventure golf, a maze, the Knight's Stronghold, Squire's Courtyard Playground, Castle Kids Obstacle Course, and the Grotto. There are excellent on-site facilities, even for the grown-ups to relax while the children play and roll in the grass. The Swan Ferry runs in the summer months. It's also possible to take Segway or guided punt tours. Obviously, these activities are all variable based on current COVID restrictions and season. So, check before setting out to see what is available.
Yeah.
Traveling back towards the castle and above the Mediterranean Garden is the Culpepper Garden. Named after the family who owned Leeds Castle in the 17th century, it was originally the site of the castle's kitchen garden. In 1980, the garden designer Russell Page transformed it into a large cottage garden. With its informal layout and low box hedges, this English garden features all those plants you would expect to see with exotic blooms mixed in to create a rainbow of color and clouds of delicious perfume. Henry VIII turned this fortified stronghold into a magnificent royal palace, making major alterations between 1517 and 1523 so that he and his wife Catherine of Aragon could visit in style. It continued as a royal palace until granted to Sir Anthony St. Leger in 1552. Your current entry to the castle is via the Norman Cellar, the oldest surviving part of the castle. Dating to the early 12th century, it was used to store food, straw, firewood, and wax for candles.
I'm going to come back and read that sign that we've just passed.
Moving through the cellar, you are given your first taste of the trove of historical artifacts with the Civil War cuirassier dating from around the year 1640 and the period of the English Civil War, followed by a halberd, spear, and pike on display as trophies rather than for actual use. You may also be fortunate if you check the website to catch a jousting reenactment or a falconry display.
You may exercise your mounts. And there they go, folks. So just that, you're going to get friends. Go to Banqueting. Stand rather over enthusiastic, very confident. Oh! It's getting nasty. And
Moving through the house, there are a multitude of historic items on show. Through the upper bridge corridor is the wooden staircase designed in 1927 and artificially aged by wire brushing, and leads to the upper floor of the gloriette. At the top of the photogenic staircase is the Laughing Crusader with his dog. The Queen's room with wall and bed hangings is stitched with H&Cs and redecorated as the bedroom of Catherine de Valois, the young widow of Henry V. As you explore the inner rooms of the building, you will catch beautiful views across the surrounding grounds, sometimes from tight windows or at other times opening up to broad bays. Some of these views are into internal spaces such as the central courtyard to the gloriette. This dates from 1820 and was a reconstruction which was again made over in the 1920s. Moving through a heavy wooden door leads to the Queen's bathroom, with appropriately modest drapery. Henry VIII's banqueting room is the largest room in the castle, created for his visit en route to France. It now houses a 16th century fireplace as part of the redesign by Rideau, along with the wooden beams on the ceiling that came from a chateau in France. The seminar room was Lady Bailey's private sitting room, the owner from 1925 until her death in 1974 when she left the castle and grounds to a specially created charity called the Leeds Castle Foundation. The seminar room housed her collection of Impressionist paintings. The grand stone staircase leads from the upper bridge corridor into the inner hall of the new castle. Across the inner hall is the library with its rich color scheme and book-lined walls, followed by the yellow drawing room with silk damask wall coverings and decorative hanging tassels, tempting chairs, and a grand piano. Next comes Thorpe Hall Drawing Room, named as such because its beautiful pine paneling and marble fireplace were taken from Thorpe Hall near Peterborough. Beyond the library is the dining room and one of the most elegant rooms in the castle with its pale gray paneled walls picked out in white. These are just a sampling of the many rooms that you can enjoy at Leeds Castle, and I'm sure you can see why it's an amazing day out for all the family. Something for history, garden or fun lovers, and everyone in between.